Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Steve Wells, and I have seen so many people out on the trails, on the sidewalks, in parks that are walking and running that have never done it before, and that really excites me that people are actually, I guess, bored enough and have enough time that they're actually getting out there and exercising a little bit. But one problem that's going on in the world right now is everybody wants to go out and exercise, but they can't go and try on shoes. And so it's really hard to get a shoe that fits you well and is going to work well for you, not going to make your feet hurt so bad that you quit in a week, without actually going in and trying on a bunch of different things to see what works well for you. So today we are going to talk about finding a shoe that works for you without going into a store and trying anything on. Normally what I would recommend is going into a specific running store to get your running and walking shoes. So that's going to be Fleet Feet, and there's a million different privately owned businesses that are specifically dedicated to running, and their employees actually know what they're talking about. If you go into one of the big chain stores, the employees act like they know what they're talking about, but I promise you they don't. There might be that one guy, if you're lucky, that actually is interested in these shoes and knows what he's talking about, but they're few and far between to find someone that's actually passionate about it. So you go in, they're going to measure your feet. They're probably going to tell you you wear a different size than you've been wearing. They're going to analyze your gait, so have you run or walk and see what's going on there, any potential problems that you might be running into in the future. If they're a good salesperson, in my opinion, they're going to take your preferences and hear you out on them, and then take what they think that you actually need and will be the best running shoe for you, and try to find something in the middle that both you like and is comfortable and will work well for you. Then you'll get to try them on, run around in them a little bit, decide if they're comfortable for you or not. A couple legitimate reasons not to go to a running store. So knowing exactly what you want, you can order online, but I don't really see much of a reason to, when you can just go down the street and have it right now instead of waiting for it. And they probably changed the model between when you last bought it and now. There's going to be a different shoe anyway. You want to retry it on and just make sure you still like it. But actual reasons not to go: you don't have one close to you, so it's just way too far of a drive to actually go to a place that will be able to do that for you. And the other legitimate reason that I can think of to not go to a running store to get fit is a global pandemic. So if there is a global pandemic going on at the time, it's probably not a good idea to go into a running store. It's impossible to say exactly which shoe you should be buying. If there was an answer exactly which one it should be, there would be no other shoes out there. There would just be that one. What I would probably recommend starting with, if you have no idea what's going on with your feet and ankles and knees, is probably to just start off in a neutral shoe and see how that works for you. I've seen way more people that are having problems by having too much stability than too little stability. So starting off with something kind of in the middle, more on the neutral end of the spectrum, is probably your best bet. I hear the word support thrown around a lot, and that's going to mean kind of different things for different people. But what I've found is, by support, people don't usually mean stability or structure in the shoe. They mean more cushioning. Now, more cushioning is not always a good thing necessarily. It's not always a bad thing. If you have something you're coming from now and you've been running in a shoe that you wish had a little bit more cushion, or you wish was a little bit lighter weight, you can go with a little bit lower cushion or a little bit higher cushion shoe. But if you have no idea what you want and you've been walking in Converse or your hiking boots or whatever because you literally have nothing else, I would probably say to start off with a medium cushion shoe. So a medium cushion shoe is a good starting point because it is both going to be a little bit more on the lightweight end, a little bit cheaper definitely than higher cushion shoes are going to be, but also give you a decent amount of cushion to absorb that shock as you're coming down on your foot. I have a lot of people come in that I'm fitting for shoes and they tell me they want something lightweight, but then go on to explain the rest of what they want, and I come out with an 11.5 ounce shoe, which is relatively heavy, and they put it on their foot and they comment on how lightweight it is. So I think running shoes, if you're coming from other types of shoes or you're coming from a really old running shoe, whatever shoe you put on your foot is probably going to feel lightweight to you just because you've been wearing something that's so heavy. So I don't think weight is necessarily something that you should be concerned with when you're getting your first pair of shoes. And you got to keep in mind that not every shoe is going to work for every person. So just because your friend runs in On Clouds does not mean that you will like On Clouds. Just because a lot of people say Brooks is the best shoe or Hoka is the best shoe, that's not necessarily true. You might hate them. And there's probably not going to be one specific shoe or one specific brand that works well for you either. I wear a bunch of different brands. I have probably maybe 30 different pairs of shoes at this point, and I would be fine running in any one of them. There are definitely ones I like more than other ones, but I would probably be fine and not have injuries in any one of those shoes. So it's not really an exact science, and even what you think might be right for your body, once you start wearing it, maybe it's not. And so it's really good just to get something and start trying it and just see what's going to work for you. Along with that, not every model within a shoe brand is going to be the same. That's a really common misconception that I hear. Just because you drive a Honda CR-V does not mean you're going to necessarily like Honda Civic, even though they're the same brand. You might like a Toyota RAV4 more because it's more similar to that HR-V than the Civic is. So you can't think about it as a brand necessarily. You have to think about it as individual models. And if you're looking at a specific model, they might not have anything very similar to that even within the same brand, but you might have something similar in a different brand. So that's where it's really good having someone that's really familiar with all of the different brands be able to recommend things for you. But since you don't have that right now, you just gotta start off with that information that they give you down below, and you can leave comments down below if you want, and I'll get back to you on any of them and give you guys some advice that I think is good advice, but it's my advice. So, and the last thing scares a lot of people for some reason, but you definitely should not be concerned about it, and that's that you should probably be going about a half size up from what your street casual shoes are. So if you wear a 10 in your Converse or Vans or dress shoes or whatever, you should probably be going up to 10.5, maybe even 11 depending on the shoe, just because shoes fit a little bit differently and you want a little bit extra room in the end for your toes to spread and for swelling, and so you're not bumping into the end and that kind of thing. So you want about a thumb width between your toe and the end of the shoe, no matter what size you end up going with. I promise there's not going to be anyone that stops you on the side of the road and pulls off your shoe and checks the inside of the tongue and sees that you're wearing a 10.5 and not a 10 and judges you for that. But there might be people that judge you when you're walking around with no toenails because your shoes are too small. So you're probably saying, yeah, all that information is great, but you didn't actually give me any recommendations. So here are just a good starting point, neutral, medium cushion shoes that will get you out the door. You'll probably be okay, and just get started and see what you like from there. What I would probably start out with is Brooks Ghost New Balance 880 Mizuno Wave Rider, Saucony Ride or Asics Cumulus, Those are just kind of good medium cushion, middle of the road, starting out. You can stay in that shoe forever if you find out you really like it, or you could move on to something else that you might like a little more. But that's probably where I would recommend starting if you have no idea what you're doing. I hear thrown around a lot about Ons and about Hokas, and I would probably not necessarily start out with them. You can definitely try them on in stores whenever they open up. There's absolutely no problem with that, but they do fit a little bit differently, don't necessarily fit everyone perfectly. You're probably either gonna love them or you're gonna hate them. Also, another thing to keep in mind is before you buy a shoe from whatever website it is, check the return policy, because you don't want to spend $120, $130, $160 on a pair of shoes that you get and realize you hate, and they sit in your closet and you're not working out still. One last thing I want to touch on just real quick is injuries. So if you're getting injuries whenever you're going out and running, just getting started, it's depending on the situation, obviously, but it's probably not your shoe's fault, and you shouldn't try to fix that problem by getting different shoes. Yes, shoes do contribute in a million different ways, but you probably just need to strengthen things up, stretch and roll and that kind of thing. And it's a long process of strengthening everything, but you just gotta take it easy. You might be doing too much all at once, and while shoes could be contributing to whatever is going on, it's probably not the only reason. So I hope this video was helpful. Definitely comment down below if you have any questions or want me to recommend shoes specifically for you or whatever, and I'll get back to you on those comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I also have an interesting video planned for next week, so be sure to hit that notification bell down below so that you're notified as soon as I post a video. I have a little challenge planned for myself, so be sure to also follow me over on Instagram so that you can follow along as I'm filming that video. I'm planning on putting stuff on my story over there. But for now, I hope you're getting out of the house a little bit, staying far away from people, but enjoying being outside, and I will talk to you guys next week.